Всем привет! Привет, коллеги,
Hi
друзья,
everyone, dear
зрители.
colleagues, dear friends, dear viewers.
Впервые довелось таким скромным
This is
парням
for the first time that
побывать в
such
Лужниках.
modest
Итак,
people
друзья, сегодня
emerged
такая
in
интересная
Luzhniki.
рубрика, так сказать, да, и выступление
That's a very
наше,
interesting section and very
которое мы хотели
interesting
собрать для того, чтобы
presentation that
поделиться
we
историями о том,
decided to
как
arrange to share some
технические
stories
специалисты,
as how
спецы,
technical
хакеры,
specialists,
кто как начинал,
hackers
дошли до того, что решились на то,
ended
чтобы
up
управлять
with
собственными командами, компаниями.
running their own
И нам
teams,
собрались
running
задать
their own
вопрос о том,
companies, and
какие особенности их характера или
what
навыков, или
features
знаний
of
дали им
the character or their
первый шаг или
knowledge
какие-то ускорения
allow
в
them
этом
to
деле.
make that step
Поэтому с
or
нами
give
сегодня
them an
огромное
impetus.
количество известных в
We
индустрии
have gathered a lot of
белого ребят.
industrially
И я хочу их познакомить с вами
well-known
и вас с
web
ними, а
hackers.
также узнать немножко
The
об их
ones I would
истории.
like to introduce to you.
Разрешите, мы начнем с
Let
того,
me
что
start with the following.
спросим этих уважаемых
Let
людей,
us ask
кто,
those
как они
esteemed
вообще,
people
почему их можно
how,
назвать хакерами, чем они
why
занимались,
actually they are called
как
hackers and
долго,
what they
чем были
did and for
увлечены
how
и
long
так
they
далее.
did that,
Разреши, Вов, наверное, Стяныч, мы
what
так
they
по очереди
were
пойдем.
interested
Расскажи,
in. So let's start one by
почему
one.
тебя можно быть хакером? Ты работал им,
And tell us
занимался,
why
служил?
you are called a hacker. Ever
Мой
been
первый
one?
место работает Positive Technologies, и уже 10 лет назад, кстати, я
I
впервые на сцене
started
PhDs.
working for Positive
В
Technologies,
принципе,
and
вот
this is for the first time
первое
that I'm
место работы
speaking in front of
позитив.
you at PhD.
Работал,
But
руководил с компанией тимлидом пентест отдела, то есть всегда был хакером,
and
всегда был пентестером, всегда
I've always been a
ломал
hacker. I did pin testing.
банки,
I
всякие
was hacking
страховые
banks,
компании
insurance companies,
и тому телеком и тому подобных заказчиков.
telecom and
Всегда было
other
интересно
providers.
развиваться в этом
I always was
направлении.
interested
И
in my development there. For how many
10,
years?
можно сказать, что уже десятый.
10
Почему тебя
years?
не взяли где-нибудь на Кипре там?
Why actually you were not arrested
Просто
somewhere in
сразу.
Cyprus?
Почему ты пошел не по тому пути, так сказать?
Why actually you chose the wrong side of the history? Can you specify the question? You're a hacker, and I think that you were to be caught and made work for some secret services, put in jail. Well, I flew to the United States and I got back with no problem. Okay, thank you so much. Then we'll speak about what you are doing now, but now probably we will learn more stories from our guests. Sergey, tell us why you are called a hacker. Well, who you called a hacker? I'm not a hacker at all. I'm too lazy for that. And probably this is why I started at Director General, because I was surrounded by people who are even more smarter, and it was cool for me to work with them. But why I was not arrested somewhere in Dominicana or somewhere else? Because I was not granted an American visa. But then, when I was offered an American visa, I decided that I probably would not go.
Погружаешься в глубину, и у тебя есть доклады на этом по хекам и я, если не ошибаюсь.
If I'm not mistaken, you are a speaker at many other sections there. Yes, we can extend the name of the section, moving from hackers to Director General and back. Well, actually, I decided to become a Director General not to appease to anyone but the investors. And Denis Baranov, our superstar, Positive Technologies Director General. You have any story to tell us? To the extent you can. Well, look, in essence, my story just like any IT guy. So I got my Spectrum computer age of 1988, and I was 3 years old. In 1996, one of my classmates brought me a disk which was called Hacker 2.0. And if there are quite old people, it was full of different crack files.
Тогда едиными, на самом деле, распространялась вот эта информация в комьюнити. Это такие, условно, аналоги, там, аналог текучих PDF-ок, но обычно
analogs of PDF files,
в тексте, либо обернутые в
or
какую-то
TXT files, or something wrapped in a package which would look nice with some animation.
ну, текст обрамляли, визуализировали и так далее. Вот. Где-то в году 98-м тоже
In 1998, I think, I got a disc which was called Secrets from Super Hackers. So in essence, I'm an old-timer in that topic. Since my childhood, I loved that profession. And probably have to pack my luggage.
Вот эти вот истории а-ля, там, я не знаю, давайте попробуем.
Those stories regarding
Разберемся, где у тебя там вот телефонная коммутационная коробка, и что он там находится на третьем этаже каждого подъезда. И, в принципе, можно, если у тебя на телефонной линии прикрутиться проводочками, можно и обзвонить там весь город.
Box and whether actually
вот все остальное, как бы,
you can call any person in the city and identify where the BBS is about. Certainly I was part of that, and it was a very childish thing to do. And I remember Infected Voice journal, and I remember that for quite a while because it was a combination of subcultures.
Хотя на самом деле вся вот эта вот такая алдовая старперская история, она, ну, крайне примитивна по текущим меркам, потому что чем дальше...
But my story is quite mundane because
понятно, что там я тоже вот, не знаю, устроился, ну, как, я учился на программиста, устроился в какой-то момент.
I was trained as a programmer, then I found a job with Positive Technologies. I would be writing articles as a hacker, and probably I was attracted by the cybersecurity and research. Speak about some criminal things that you're asking about. I've never had any criminal background. I think that this is just like, if you are stealing anything, you are a thief. That's very simple. In hacking, this is just a skill. This is a type of curiosity, type of researchers. Every engineer loves challenges, but in that case, this is a little bit different. So, for me, this is very attractive, but it has nothing to do with criminal world. Well, this is why I'm sitting on the stage. Luca, you spoke about old people, and most of the hackers, of the people, they were fond of making viruses, malware. An Infected Voice journal was dedicated to malware, to viral software. And well, you can find such journals on the floppy disks. There was a very serious technical part, how to make viruses, and when video memory would be dedicated to store that. So that was a very interesting journal, but it was diluted with some humor stories, and it then translated in BHC journal. What about yourself? In 2001, I was summoned to committee where department allegedly because I hacked a website of one of the MPs, but there was nothing scary about that, and Positive Technologies products were free then, and only spider software was found in my account. Why I opened the very first legal entity, I remember I launched my legal entity because the company I worked with could not pay money to the natural person. Then I realized that consulting alone, or pen tests alone, cannot help me make both ends meet. Okay. Well, we all started business, but as been said, some got back from business to hacking. I know another person who is running his own company, but at the same time he's looking for different technical solutions. Tell us, please, how did you make your first step when you decided to move from technical specialist to CEO? Sales, etc. Why did you decide to do that? Well, I have to tell you some history that transformation from technical specialist into the founder of the company and entrepreneur, product creator, was quite natural, and it naturally continued my curiosity. I wanted to multiply my expertise, show to the customers that really
какой-то уровень, который можно создать только вручную,
certain level
передается
that can
большому
be
количеству
created
людей.
manually only,
И
rendered
как
to
произошла
a
эта
big deal of people.
трансформация, ну,
How this
нужно
transformation
тоже
take
еще
place?
рассказать небольшую предысторию, что я
Again, let me tell you a story
после
that
позитива я-то улетел в
after
Сингапур, и 2
positive,
года вообще-то не был в России.
I went to Singapore and I was not in Russia for 2 years. I was head of the Southeastern Asian hackers, was responsible for Malaysia, Philippines, and Thailand.
Как это происходит в России? На самом деле не у такого большого количества людей есть опыт вот этот.
And not so many people have such an international experience.
Не в плане бизнеса, а в плане технического. Как организована команда, как организованы закупки, продукты и все такое. И на мой взгляд, только вот понимая, как
In my opinion, only understanding how it all arranged in the world, you can do something that really would be competitive globally. My idea was to create a kind of product, to create a kind of a company that would showcase the best opportunities of the people. Well, entrepreneurship came very naturally for me because I understand when you are being paid for that, when you're pen testing 24/7, that's a pleasure, that's certainly a pleasure, but you want to be paid for that, certainly. Everyone who is doing business, we're all raising money. This is the only way to get good money. Well, Sergey, I think, may challenge that. Money doesn't matter. No, this is my personal pain, because I have a very young team and I'm paying a salary to the tune of minimum subsistence wage to myself, so my business intention is totally different. How did you dare becoming a CEO? Well, I didn't dare, I didn't decide to do that. One company whose website had the same blue logo and the fonts would be the same. I'm still missing that font. It was a startup. And in essence, there were dozens of people, a little bit more, but officially there would be more people hired by the company and had to deal with everything. So, for instance, had to do pen tests, and Sasha Nisimov is doing pen tests, so I helped him. You have to write a code. Okay, let's make code for Max Patra. Then we came up with a product who can implement an enterprise product. Okay, this is up to technical support, you do technical support. And once you do everything, jack of all trades, well, then you're not scared by anything. So if you can do one product, you can do dozens of products. So these are different positions. Once you have some external problems, now you are full of that leadership, and there's a whole bunch of hackers who follow you, the ones who were attracted by your competences or anything like that. So it means that there was some understanding. No. The thing I didn't have was I had no fear. Probably this is about getting mature. For instance, you become a director general, you assume a lot of risks, and the engine goes. This is what matters. You have to understand that, okay, you can make your own engine, but most importantly, you have to be not afraid of anything. If a person has an MBA or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you build a company that's a big body, big organism, and you do not know which way it would go, you have to be enthusiast. You have to sell an idea to them, and they would sell their ideas to you, and out of that, something great may emerge. I managed to work for Positive Technologies back in 2016, and then I was trained in hacking. And there was Dennis, who was a technical specialist, and he acted as a manager as well. And then 10 years ago, you moved to the management of the company, and I think that you were in charge of a big business. How did you transit from hacking technologies to creating technologies, proceeding from technical things to managerial skills? What skills helped you to master your today's duties? Well, the story is very simple. Positive technologies, I think that I joined the company being 51st to be hired. And all in all, in 2010, I think, this is when I joined the company. If we look back to see how many people emanated from positive technology, it would turn out that this is not just a big school of software developers. This is a big school of entrepreneurs. I'm not an entrepreneur, and we all were trained as entrepreneurs in positive technologies because of the atmosphere there.
Все просто. Вот Egor создавал эту среду для меня.
That environment was created for me by Sergey, and I created that for you, and back on and back forth. Still, we're going to impact that industry. And positive technologies is a kind of school for entrepreneurship. I remember that some would say that, first of all, there is a small company that employs 50 people, and only certain people would be attracted by it. So people with MBA, this is a disadvantage for this company. And actually, if you get a CV with the MBA, you just put that in the shredder. The people who actually, I used to work in big companies. Again, you get rid of them. You create the people around you, and then you would be told that there are some pre-sale marketing departments. I remember that miraculous moment when I would be sitting somewhere, and I was told, you have to go and talk to that client. And then I was left alone with that client. So you have to address that problem. Everyone is interested in some pet organization. I wanted to develop web that I was dealing with. And step by step, you start addressing more and more problems. Because without you, there was no one in charge of that. And naturally, the top manager would tell you, you are dealing with some managerial tasks, let me remain you, and get some apprentices, teach them to do what you are doing. So that story certainly is about developing an environment. I apologize for that advertisement, but positive technologies is always checking whether you are IBM or not. Probably IBM-like companies may address such problems, but they cannot generate entrepreneurs just like positive technologies did before. This is a trap for typical trap for entrepreneurs. So they tell you to talk to a client and then would see whether you succeed in that or not.
По сути, все предприниматели вышли из позитива, но ничего в позитиве не.
In essence, I see that many entrepreneurs got out of positive technologies, and so they didn't create anything on their own. Well, actually, I'm living next to them. If you take us and the colleagues who, for some reasons, are not present here, we all know each other, we all talk to one another. Even part of our products This is a kind of natural continuation of pentests. Somewhat else. They would need something more. When we do some pentests, and for the second time or for the fifth time, we do some action again and again, just like Vladimir, for instance. And we say, let's arrange several scanners, or let's analyze the attacks potential, and skipper would be made. So, and really, why not? Why not like that? Or you are stockpiling products or services, like a toy pyramid, for instance, and you approach the security champions for the training for extra experience. Everything is interconnected. There might be some even theoretical situations when you would sit and think, why I cannot come up with a startup now? That's not a service. Moreover, there are lots of niches that are open for anyone. There would be either one vendor or no vendors at all. SEAL, for instance, by Sasha Shetinin. Okay. Sounds as a conclusion like you have to scale up your activity and to give to the world more than is inside your brain. Okay, let's stop speaking about business and speak about more serious things. We are representatives of different generations. I have questions to you guys as what you had to hack, what tools you used, what are the specific features, and what are the things, for instance, what skills you obtained and that helped you in your entrepreneurship life. A mundane example. I have a web pen test background. I started from 2016, and the entry level was going up very fast. And for instance, the project would run for 4 weeks, and usually you would find some critical vulnerabilities. And okay, you would say, I found that bug, and then there would be a job, and the very next week you would suffer and think about not being able to identify another bug. And this move from victory to victory would guarantee a habit. And you have to find a solution, and you have to be more industrious, to work more. And this brings up tolerance for mistakes. This is what unites the hackers, and then they would translate into software development. What did you hack? What were you doing with? Apart from pentest, I know that you dealt with bug bounties, so the approach is different. It means that you can find some ready-made bug. What out of the skills that you have trained helped you in business? A lot of interesting topics that you have raised. I started with web just like everyone else, standard vulnerabilities, and then when it was 2016-17, CXCA were popular. DOS&B started, cheat sheet was displayed, and Russian hackers popularized that. CCRF Bible. This is how I can call it. Okay. But what we have trained in terms of the skills, something that helps you in your business. As far as I know, in your entrepreneurship, you still are very knowledgeable about the technical things. Is it thanks to your background? Is it because of your technical background, or this is because of something else? Well, look, initially, I apologize for repeating that, but once again, our idea is to bring together the best practices within one solution. The best practices of identifying vulnerabilities in web and other systems. For instance, we know that, let's take web vulnerability, a conventional one. What I succeeded in the very beginning, from the very outset. And I remember another day, system identified vulnerability in positive technologies. Well, you can get a lot of money now if you have disclosed that now. A pen tester has to have a feeling, as you have said, to succeed in something, achieve something, and move forward, progress. So you want that RC to take place, that you did that, and you can advance. This approach, this is the most important thing that a person has. And this approach underlies creating some good solutions. When you have this attitude, how to put that in Russian, when you have motivation, the wish, intention to move forward, then you can somehow come up with interesting attacks and to make brute force of typical passwords across the perimeter or the service itself. So the approach is most important. So it means that you collect a lot of expertise, and you pull that along with you, and there are many ideas that you put into that. That's very important, because there are people who would just say, I've collected you, and to do something push, do something cool. And I think that many hackers are knowledgeable about the details of what is going on with their processes, what is going on with their company. In my opinion, how good companies emerge and what the good companies come from is because of the expertise that all the technical people have. They know how to scale it up. If a person knows that what he's doing is unique, that this is needed by the market, that it can be monetized. For instance, speak about Alcint GPT, and if as a technical guy you know that you can scale it up, then this is a good long-term story. Thank you. Sergey. Another question to you. I see what you have done, and I see some things that you are publishing. I see that you are very creative, and probably this is because of your hacker's background, that you were invest into the company and company's product. Why? What objectives that you were attaining, what hacker skills helped you to become what you are now? What skills can be trained by other people who want to follow in your footsteps? When I was a young boy, when I thought that the first time I speak in Luzhniki, it would be my band and it would be kind of a rock concert. But, well, just to be on the safe side, you see how long my hair is, in case I have to sing a rock opera. Well, let me answer three previous questions. How I ended up with hacking. I would be writing code RK Radio 1006, and in 1999 I was working already and I was hacked. It would be called SQL injection, and I didn't know that word, and someone just put drop minus, 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 and that's it. And I thought, oh, this is the way it could have been done. And for me, it was a true hacking. If a person can do it like that, and then everyone realized that he can, then this is a hacker.
Well, in fact, when hackership reaches some cheat lists, you should know that it's a craft. As to the creative part, it is about doing things in a way that all the people around say, is it really possible? And it works everywhere. It works in technology, in entrepreneurship, in marketing, anywhere. Basically, there can be companies of different scales. However, if you need to come up with a product or creative marketing, the last thing you can do is hiring someone calling themselves a product manager or a marketing manager, what a typical product manager would say? I have learned Gartner reports, here are the curves, we'll do something within the next 3 years and sell it. And the marketing guys will be spreading the news about HUDR to be launched nearby. You may earn something on this, but you will hardly come up with something people will say about, is it really possible? Kirill, could you describe your skill sets? What should be done in order not to lose those best practices and approaches in business and management? Should one apply all such things, all such skills on a permanent basis? Will you share your own secrets, your background? As far as specific approaches are concerned, I can hardly name them. I agree with Sergey. It's all about mindset. It's about your desire to learn new things. How do those things work? How can I achieve that? If you are fond of doing research, you're okay. When I first started reviewing the company's budget in 2018, I was really interested. It attracted me. I thought what I could do to improve things, to change something. You work on practical things. You do something you have never done before, and it's cool. It gives you an impetus. It's a kind of researcher's drive. It is important to keep it. As was mentioned before, at that stage, there was no hackers industry. There was no hackership institute. I just like what I do. I like my domain, and I manage to do it well. Sometimes I could do it excellent. So it's mostly about love. Let's not do what we don't love. However, if there is a task, well, if you don't like it, let's look for someone who does like it, instead of relying on those who don't. And there are quite unexpected things that people may like or dislike. And this will work for anything and everything. You will always be able to find someone who will like what you need to do. Another point, it should be a matter of principle. In the previous 7 years, we would talk about security analysis, ways to demonstrate improvements and approaches to improve things. However, most fun was yielded by your ability to outdo everyone. That's what I liked, was my point. So, to me, it's a matter of principle. Guys, we know the truth. You have hackers' background, and you know the truth. And, you cannot be cheated with things such as processes or technologies. You know what's available in the internet. Without all those customers' whims, you know how it works in real life. You say, I want you guys to be honest, I want to do what I like to do, and as I said, the researcher's drive is also very important. It is awesome, it's cool. Thank you. I think it's really valuable. Many people do things that they don't always like.
Luca, I rephrase my question for you. You are an individual who participates in many activities as an expert and as an individual who builds teams and launches projects. Why are you still involved in the technology part of the work? All those workshops, practical things. Every year I tell myself I'm not going to buy all those new products, but I still do. Look, coming to a vendor's party. I can come to such a party as a pentester to say, you still have work, all of you. I find it an advantage when your work is a hobby which is well paid. It's a win-win situation. I like interesting things. For example, last year I spoke about bug bounty and services and so forth, and I was probably the only one in Russia who could afford doing that under their own account. There is a product, I'm not going to name it. They sent me an email saying that thanks to you, our product has reached maturity. Thank you. And I am pleased to brag it as to taking part in projects and launching projects. Well, they may not be huge or large scale, but I really like dealing with them. My involvement may vary from project to project. I sold my project to larger players. However, it makes it possible for me to do things that are fun for me. I'm speaking about image products and projects. I also can support companies and startups like Flipper Zero, a well-known one on the market. When they experience problems with paying for Hackspace, we help them. We funded them. We paid about $5 million. You can participate in a project helping other people, or you may stand by. I like being involved in projects that are Russian by origin, although promoted internationally, which proves the quality of our mathematical school. We're happy to be the school's products. I became a hacker when I had a very bad computer, which was not powerful enough to support the games I liked. Thank you very much. We have about 20 minutes left, so I encourage you to take part in our Blitz Q&A session. And let those questions go to you as former hackers, IT hooligans. Well, basically, our today's meeting is intended to demonstrate to experts that even when you become an expert or possibly an entrepreneur, you will still keep your legacy with your skill sets and your experience. Now, I'll be addressing questions to each one of you. So, let's begin from a question to all. Which tool took you about 10,000 hours? Firefox console. The console. The best tool. Your manager and PowerPoint. The console and PowerPoint and the Excel.
первых
All right,
вспомнить
your first
что-то
hack.
что-то такое запоминающееся.
Do you remember it?
На самом деле, я сам не помню самый первый.
Something that crosses your mind.
Багу на пентесте сдал, такой типа XS.
I remember my first pen test bug. I remember the hackers forum where they posted their shell and some improper rates to crack it. I remember how I was hacked. After that, I hacked InformZaShita's website, and this is how we became friends with Alexei Lukatsky. He was launching it then. That was a historical event. After that, the VAX appeared as a project. I understood that the quote mark could not only be introduced by myself. I remember something connected to it. I mentioned it before. There is a panel at the third level. Where I lived, there was no phone number, so get out to the internet. I needed to get connected to my neighbor's line to use his number to get connected to the web. I was a schoolboy, so I attached an eavesdrop to the neighbor's line. I remember how I did that, removing shilling from the wire with my teeth, and all of a sudden their phone started ringing. I will never forget this experience.
Слушай, ну самое первое
And you were hacked.
меня скорее
I don't remember my first one.
Ну, всегда приятно ставить перед собой более высокие
It's always fun to attain higher ends, and it has always been my goal.
Одним глазком и не нашел. Я, кстати, тут вспомнил то, что я сказал пример из XSS, когда попал в инфраструктуру.
I mentioned XSS examples when I worked as a pen tester. My most interesting one was when I decided to become a hacker. I would write articles about tooling and using the XSL. And I remember rules on introducing a polyglot to the HTTP header. I did that, and then I continued reading the website. And then I found an article repeating the same. I got a prize, the most recent magazine issue, and a mug. Okay, let's continue. When did you code for the last time? Yesterday, the day before yesterday? No doubt. Sergey, last Monday. I used Nuclei and Python.
Дэн, ну, пора время.
About you. Last summer, I went to the Maldives. Oh, this summer has not started yet. I had a time slot, and I decided to improve my skills. Well, I have never been incentivized to learn Python. I would work with JS and so forth. I did that since 2001. So I decided to learn the algorithms. I wanted to do it. I needed to understand what I was learning in order to understand in turn if I should teach my developers. So I opted for Python with no reason. I just wanted to give a shot at it. About you. Well, I don't have to code as part of my work. However, some time ago, I was reviewing the tasks of my students. Parents, get prepared. You will have to deal with JS and Python. I also, well, my daughter, sorry, she also wants to become an IT expert.
всякое там
Пойти
попроще.
вендора там пожирнее где-нибудь поработать. Ну, позитивно.
And she would like to find an employment with IT vendors. Maybe you have hacking-related questions. Don't hesitate to ask them.
Мой вопрос, ребята, а какой прям вот не
My
ваш,
question.
а вообще самый крутой хак, который вы знаете?
What's the coolest hack you know
У меня,
about?
на самом деле, крышу сносят баги
Not
с
mandatorily yours.
HTTP, которые вот на просфигере там
Just think HTTP bias, maybe.
вводилось, только их применений просто.
Узкий, как
Do you remember its
3D
applications?
прям вообще офигенно выглядит, всегда круто.
H3D Sync.
Применений разных можно этого найти.
It always looks cool,
И,
and
и
with
это
so
на
many
стыке самого
applications.
фундамента, короче. Это не там какая-то прикладнуха такая, там типа в
It's
одном
at the
приложении.
frontier.
Это просто весь HTTP во всем мире.
All
И, ну, понятно, что
HTTP.
есть, но все равно это можно
across the
там,
world.
еще много где. Это прикольно.
There are plenty of
У меня
cases,
вот
of
я
course.
вспомнил историю, которая была,
Well,
как мы
to
взломали
me,
там
I
10 тысяч
remember
интернета.
how we hacked
Какие-то
10,000
истории
TrueNet
были открыты.
sites
Ну, как бы
when their Git
файловая
repositories were
тема такая
open.
известная была, но она была так
It's a
преподнесена,
well-known
как будто вот,
story,
типа,
but it was presented in a
там,
way.
там сколько-то там тысяч.
I remember there was an article
Ну, чисто хайп. Ну, и
on
всё такое,
Hubber.
типа, как я взломал Сапсан, как я взломал то, как я
I
взломал всё.
also cracked
Миллион, ну не миллионы,
Sapsan
ладно, там, сотни ИБшников, я вам скажу,
and
у них чешутся руки, они
hundreds
ломают
of
гостиницы,
other
приезжают на конференции, они взламывают транспорт, подключаются ко всем вот щиткам,
well, they
телефонам,
can
там,
crack
запускают порнуху на
any
телефонах,
transportation facility,
Как
get
раз не пишут об этом
connected
статьи.
to
Вот, я больше чем
distribution
уверен, что
panels.
там, ну, человек 100
There are
точно
no
скажет, да, блин,
articles
пацаны
about
тут,
that.
конечно, ломали, там на все доступ получали.
Some
Ну,
100
всякие,
people can tell you
Да.
or brag
потом
having
чувак,
cracked
который
Sapsan.
написал статью, кстати, я выдал на Хабр, он настолько не застал,
The
что
guy
наличил
who
20
wrote
миллионов
an
долларов.
article about breaking
Ну, это в ВЧК УГПУ есть.
the system and having
Пошел дальше,
cashed
видите, сразу.
$20,000
Ну, где-то вот года полтора-два назад я познакомился с волшебным миром
some 2 years
виртуального
ago.
хакинга, то есть мы взяли у нас
I familiarized myself
как бы, да.
with the world
Это,
of
конечно, прям вообще нечто. То есть, потому что вот я тоже смотрю, там,
government hacking.
кто не видел, прям советую сходить.
It's
сейчас
something.
вот именно
Have you seen
в лабу
bleaching?
покажут, да, текущие. То есть там просто не
Go
знаю,
to the lab.
светил
The
лазером в
guys
эту
will
точку, в
show
эту
you
точку, и один раз на
all
миллион запусков,
those
ты видишь, там,
processes,
не знаю,
this
квантом
endpoint
электрон,
and
куда
that
нужно, и где у тебя там вместо
endpoint,
нолика там один
and
запишется,
you
вот
will
этот
kick
кривой, потому
off
что там, я не знаю, там лазеры,
the
там движение
electron
электричество, там жидкий
quantum
азот, то есть прям такой
Мало тебя
хардвор.
ударил током, да?
Да, да, такой
or liquid
хакинг, собственно, как в кино, то есть вот где-то на грани Терминатора.
nitrogen.
Вот, конечно, бомба, да, потому что условно там, не знаю,
Well, this is really cool, like in Terminator movie.
Мужики для этого азотом что-то заливают, как бы, вот это прям...
You just imagine it.
Слушай, не знаю, у меня пара идей, веб-3 хаки были достаточно денежные.
Vladimir, your ideas. I remember my Web.3 hacking. Well, that was a pretty lucrative experience. You like money, as I can see.
Ну,
Yes.
это хорошая ассоциация, но это просто как один из примеров.
That's a good association. Just one
Очень
example.
нравилось, все хаки через Wi-Fi. Это то, что невозможно увидеть.
I like
можно издалека так и за
Wi-Fi-related
100 метров
hacks
навести антенку так на кого-то и
where you
чтобы
can
потом подключить
point
к нему
your
и там
antenna, steal cash from someone,
То есть то, что невозможно.
and then get access to the local network.
Серег, я думаю, здесь
Something that cannot be detected.
Правильного ответа нет, это же личное отношение.
What's the right answer? It's about personal relationship. There is no correct answer. Well, maybe Starlink. What year was it?
Из таких вот вещей, которые меня прям будоражат, это все, что
Yes, what
киберфизическое, то есть в свое время
gives me a kick.
транспортной отраслью и
I
паровозики,
used
вот это вот всё, оно
to work with the transportation
есть.
industry,
И помните,
all those
на одном из PhDs был анонимный
locomotions.
мистер Аноним.
At one of PhDs, there was an anonymous presentation
в самолете сами охраняли от этого.
describing the entertainment system
Это вот то, что у
of an aircraft in flight,
Руки-то чешутся.
something that was mentioned by Luca.
Второй, третий, доза увеличивается только.
Да, и это
Yeah, it gives you a kick, true kick, and you want more and more of it. Yes, that's real world.
взаимосвязь того, что ты
And it's
делаешь, не
all
просто там кавычки
about
вставляешь или даже газером пил.
Interconnection between what you're doing, not just introducing a quotation mark. It's about real world and how it's organized. Of course, you can find out about it in the Hackers movie, but we live in this world of bots and switches and cables. I have quite a lot of articles at Hubber. I can give you some stats. Most of them are not about technical expertise. Mostly they are about technical magic. You send some command, and your counterpart's iPhone reloads. Why don't we try to get connected? And here you are. This technical magic chases you. We understand that there is no magic under the fender, but most people don't. It's not only about seeing some four-letter word that you display on a public screen. Well, actually, you all are speaking about having appetite for knowledge.
Сколько людей уволил? Давай.
Well, how many people
Не знаю, спрашивать это этично, не этично.
did you fire?
Сколько лично людей уволил?
I'm not sure if it's ethical. You personally, how many people did you fire? I have a very short blacklist comprising about 4 names. All of them sitting here? No, that's a joke. It's not about you. Basically, not too many people. There are systems and organizations that like firing people. One thing is doing it in a concealed way. Another story is doing it in a face-to-face mode.
Лука?
No, not too many. Lucas, I fired a few people, and it was pretty difficult to fire some of them. Once I hired a wrong person with wrong skills, and later it was very difficult for me to tell them that I was wrong. Moreover, throughout the period of working with us, that person had increased his skills a great deal, and it was very difficult for me to say, "You're fired." And I did that when the person was on vacation. But later, a year and a half later, the same person returned to me, and we continued working together. And I worked with him, and he became a cool expert. First, it was my bad. I hired him erroneously. As to myself, I fired about 4 to 5 persons, probably. Was it a painful experience? Of course, it's all about emotions. But usually people understand that they are not delivering. Yeah.
Денис тут уже говорил про всякие школы. Я, наверное,
Sergey,
человек, поэтому я...
Dennis has already mentioned schools. I am pretty lazy, so I taught other people how to fire people. Maybe I am lucky. I virtually never experienced situations when I needed to fire some 20% of my personnel. But sometimes it's up to you to make this decision, to lay off, say, 5% of your personnel. But in any such situation, you do it best to make sure that such laying off is for the person's better rather than worse. Most of those you want to fire understand that you want to fire them. And if it's an intelligent individual, they will come to you and say, it's okay, but sometimes it's a shock for the person fired, and it becomes a shock to yourself. Sometimes it's difficult, but there are situations when you're here thinking, this person is just burning my time and my resources,
Друзья,
Well, we have 6 minutes left. Well, my question. Doing business in Russia or doing business abroad?
Я хочу уже за рубеж идти и весь мир покорять.
Someone may say, I'm sick and tired of working here, it's time for me to go
В
abroad.
России прикольно делать бизнес.
Of course, international business. And why is it cool doing business in Russia?
Это рядом.
Is it the next question, or is it the same question? It's an adjacent question. Well, it's interesting doing business in Russia because we have so many talents here. Not everything is overregulated here. Many regulation approaches in this country are much milder and softer than abroad. But it's a trap. It can be a trap. Why going international? The answer is as simple as that.
Если ты не хочешь уничтожить всех международных
If you
конкурентов,
don't
то команда
want
у тебя будет такая, которая
to destroy your international competition,
бизнес в России, но всегда
your company will never strive for this, and you will get stuck doing your business in Russia.
Другой ракурс, потому что на разные вопросы. Во-первых, в России...
I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I mean Russia or international business. I used to do business in the Emirates. I had some training startup there. And honestly, I didn't like it. Why? Because in the end of the day, something happened that Russia is blamed for. Someone will come and give you an offer you will not be able to reject. Working here, you don't have keep your 6 o'clock. Well, doing business in Russia is easier because it's clear, it's more understandable, and ironically, it entails fewer risks. And second, Dennis, at a certain point, the right marketing expert comes with all the knowledge of Gartner and so forth, with all those blah, blah, blahs and the Russian language blah, 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 which means that your product is dead, that your company is dead, no new ideas, and when you are engaged with a product that may have taken 3 years, you need to proceed from the premise that tomorrow you'll be able to start selling it internationally. Not in 3 years, but right now. You can come with your pitch to speak at a conference. If you don't understand how to achieve it, maybe your only competitive advantage will be your Russian language proficiency, which is not bad at all, but it's only bullet number 10 on the list. Let's summarize briefly. As to myself, I think that we should develop our business in Russia while following the experience of our international colleagues who are still ahead. But we'll have someone to try to catch up with. Well, that's quite vast topic to be discussed. There is some competition between local products in Russia. Therefore, when you are doing a product aimed at the Russian market and the international market, well, eventually your product becomes a product for the Russian market. When some product or startup gets financing here in Russia, well, such a startup proves to be unable to compete on the international market.
Пока зарубежные вендоры не ушли из России, покупали зарубежные, несмотря на то, что...
While all those international vendors were present on the Russian market, consumers preferred their products. Today, the situation is different. As to selling companies, of course, you should create companies and products that can be sold in Russia while being competitive internationally.
Просто да, посмотрим на историю российских продуктов. У нас есть
All right, let's look at the background of Russian products. There is one company that started in Russia and ended up in the USA. I would name 3.
We have the final question, actually. I have a lot of questions, but let's finish with one. Give a piece of advice to a hacker who decided to make their own business. Just one piece of advice.
Никогда не сдаваться.
Делай.
Never give up. Just do it. Don't be afraid.
Я не знаю, я там не был, как бы, да, но условно.
Well, I've never been like that, but
Побыть генеральным директором.
if you are suggested to be a CEO, just say yes, because this is fun. Okay, totally agree. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to take any more questions. I do hope that it was useful for you to listen to how technical specialists transited to business industry, and I would like to have the technical specialists who are sitting in front of us digesting what we told them, got inspired to do more and be part of such stories. Thank you so much. Have a good day.